Alright, give me a minute. Alright, give me a minute. Yeah. Shall we start?
I think we can, Shivangi.
Alright, Shishir. Good evening to everyone who are here and who are watching us through different platforms. On behalf of Debate and Discussion Society, I, Jha Shubhangi, extends my heartfelt congratulations to all the first-year law students who have joined Campus Law Center. A very warm welcome to you all. Before we begin with the orientation, I would briefly lay out the flow of the event. Good evening, we'll be having a presentation and which will acquaint you with DDS, its on behalf of Debate and Discussion Society, I, as to how you can be part of the congratulations and to all the first-year law students who have joined Campus. It will be followed by an interactive session with Advocate on Record. Before we begin with the Siddharth Batra, I would briefly be guiding us on the art of oral advocacy. Good evening, we'll be having a presentation and which will acquaint you with DDS, to its on behalf of Debate and Discussion Society. I, and lastly, we'll have you can be part of the congratulations and to all the first-year law students who have joined Campus. It will be followed by an interactive session with Advocate on Record. Before we begin with the orientation, I would very quickly guide us on the art of oral advocacy. Good evening, we'll be having a presentation and which will acquaint you with DDS, to its on behalf of Debate and Discussion Society. I, and lastly, we'll have you can be part of the congratulations and to all the first-year law students who have joined Campus. It will be followed by Discussion Society, as the name suggests, provides a platform for all the inter and intra debates and discussions on legal and sociological aspects. In addition to organizing debates and discussions, the Society strives to promote and facilitate free thoughts and opinions through its round-the-year activities. Witnessing active participation from the vibrant student community with the firm belief in the scope of deliberations and purposeful exchanges as an instrumentality of positive change, the Society hosts a plethora of events covering various facets of the society in general and legal field in particular. These events include the CLC Opinion Project, which is the inter-debating competition, the CLC Town Hall, that is the interactive panel discussions, and Abhigyan lecture series, to name a few. I would like to call upon my teammates to throw upon more lights onto these initiatives. Foremost, we have Mohammed Arif Ansari, student co-convener of DDS. Over to you, Arif.
Thank you so much, Sumangi. Am I audible? Can you just confirm?
Yeah. Yes, you are audible.
Good evening to one and all. I will give a brief overview of TCOP, that is the CLC Opinion Project. TCOP is a flagship event of DDS. It is an intra-debating competition where the participating students speak for and against the motion, where the topic of the debate are chosen by the student of the CLC. The topic is debatable and has polarizing opinions. Example, Sabrimala, Article 370 and secularism. On the question that, why is it called a CLC Opinion Project? It is so because at the end of the competition, all the students vote for and against the motion, and on that basis, we decide the opinion of the college. This is a competition that is conducted bilingually. Therefore, both English and Hindi medium students are encouraged to participate in the event, having no restraint or barrier to the language whatsoever. In this flagship event, numerous personalities and luminaries have already graced with their esteemed presence. In the past, we had current SG Advocate Aishwarya Bhati and Advocate JSI Deepak as an adjudicator. The recent TCOP, that is the fifth TCOP, was held on the topic of sedation, where Mr. Bharat Chugh and Dr. Anand Ranganathan had adjudicated the debate. All in all, I could say that TCOP is a race to claim CLC's Debate of the Year trophy. Thank you so much. And handing over the mic to the co-convener of DDS, Mr. Adarsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif. Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of the freshers and viewers who have joined us in this orientation session. CLC Town Hall is the flagship event panel discussion series of DDS. wherein DDS hosts panel discussions on various social-legal issues of the society, which are often complex, multifaceted, and not necessarily bipolar. While the discussions are predominantly guided by stalwarts and luminaries of their fields, it is as interactive as it can get. On the occasion of Women's Day 2022, DDS hosted a panel discussion under the aegis of CLC Town Hall, which was titled as Tracing the Spirit of Feminism. The event was graced by three esteemed panelists, that is, Additional Solicitor General of India and Senior Advocate Vikramjit Banerjee, Ms. Sinu Joseph, and Ms. Zakia Suman. In the next iteration of CLC Town Hall, DDS hosted a panel discussion on the hijab judgment titled Liberty of Choice and Choice of Liberty, the Hijab Debate. This version of CLC Town Hall was graced by Justice Iqbal Ahmad Ansari, Senior Advocate Ms. Monica Arora, and Maulana Shuaib Kasmi. Now, I would like to call upon Student Executive Member of DDS, Ms. Vakula Giri, to enlighten us about other initiatives of DDS. Over to you, Vakula.
Thank you, Adarsh. Good evening to all the freshers and all those who have joined us today. Debate and Discussion Society, staying true to its name, has been consistently organizing speaker sessions to facilitate invigorating discussions, conversations, and dialogues with and among students. One such initiative alongside CLC Town Hall was the Courtroom's Legend Keynote series, which was kickstarted on YouTube and which instantly became a famous hit amongst law students across the country. So, the series was an experiment to get into the minds of the stalwarts in the legal field who have dedicated their lifetime to law. Often called the masters of law, the invitees were eminent and illustrious lawyers who influenced the flow of power and unearthed the unwritten soul from the statutes. The Debate and Discussion Society had the prestige and honor of hosting five such episodes, which witnessed the presence of these stalwarts, including Mr. Hari Salve, Sri C.S. Vaidyanathan, Mr. Mohan Parasaran, Sri Gopal Subramanian, and Mr. Tushar Mehta, whose faces you can see on the screen, each one of whom shed light on some of the most important and pertinent aspects of the Constitution. Their 3 or 4 decades of experience in litigation provided the students with an all rounded perspective about the practical realities and the various contours of litigation. So, their addresses always ended with an inspiring call to the students to be the change. The next of such series is Abhigyan, the CLC lecture series. So, DDS organizes a series of lectures on several academic topics delivered by the most renowned and distinguished experts in the field. It acts as a medium where students, teachers, and other stakeholders engage with illuminaries and enrich themselves with the extensive knowledge that these speakers have to offer. Last year alone, 4 such lectures were conducted. The series included an interactive session with Mr. Tarunab Khetan, Professor of Public Law and Legal Theory, University of Oxford, on a pertinent topic, Supreme Court as a constitutional watchdog. This was then followed by a lecture on war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and aggression in Ukrainian war by Professor Ved P. Nanda, a world-renowned jurist and academician. Then we had a lecture on legal aid and public interest litigation by Mr. Shoaib Alam, advocate on record, Supreme Court of India, and right to digital accessibility by Mr. Rahul Bajaj, senior fellow with the Center for Legal Policy. Through these series, we identify pressing contemporary legal issues and invite these personalities to give their in-depth perspectives backed by their rich experience and extensive research. Now, to talk about other initiatives, I invite Suryansh, Executive Member of Debate and Discussion Society, to take over this virtual podium.
Thank you, Vakla. DDS has conducted many workshops over the year for crafting and aiding development of various skills. The latest being with EBC Publishing House, famously known as SCC Online, and Manupatra. How to effect perform legal research as student using SCC and Manupatra platforms. Prior to this, we organized workshop on law governing civil aviation with prominent speakers such as Mr. Amber Dubey, Joint Secretary of Ministry of Aviation, Richard Hicks, partner at Reed Smith LLP based in London, Mr. Atul Sharma, managing partner at Link Legal, and many more. Next, you will see the glimpse of past orientation programs, and thereafter, Mr. Adarsh, co-convener of Debate Society, will take over. Over to you, Adarsh.
Thank you, Suryansh. Moving forward, folks, as we all know that during the COVID pandemic, conducting several physical events was an improbable task. Owing to that, DDS switched its working entirely to online mode. DDS was also the first and the only society in Campus Law Center to have its own dedicated YouTube page, having a substantial following. where we always live stream all the events. In the virtual working environment, DDS hosted a number of interactive sessions in the previous academic year. The following sessions were conducted by DDS. Interactive session on the topic Art of Oral Advocacy, delivered by Advocate on Record Mr. Amish Agarwala, conducted during the DDS Orientation program. Session on the topic Fluidity, the Fundamental Paradigm of Constitution, delivered by Mr. R. Venkatramani, Attorney General of India, and further, on the occasion of National Youth Day 2022, an interactive session on the topic Relevance of Vivekanand for Youth in Modern India was conducted by esteemed author Mr. Ram Madhav. And last but not the least, DDS, in collaboration with Bloomsbury, organized a session on topic and his book titled India, that is Bharat Coloniality, Civilization and Constitution. It was delivered by Advocate Mr. J. Saidi. Now, I would like to bring to your attention the International Conference on Law and Spirituality 2021. ICLS 2021 was a joint initiative of Campus Law Center and Ethic Craft Club, which was organized with an aim to shed light on the threads of spirituality that are intricately interwoven with the complex fabric of law and society. The conference, spanning 3 days, was graced by 22 personalities of national and international repute from varied walks of life. The conference culminated in the pre-launch of a book titled The Law and Spirituality, Exploring the Bonds, for which over 200 papers and articles were submitted by academicians from across the globe. The speakers for the event included the likes of the Governor of Kerala, the Minister of State, and from the Ministry of External Affairs, former judges of Supreme Court of India and British Judiciary, senior advocate and solicitors, academicians, and renowned motivational speakers. Now, I would request Mr. Shishir Kumar Rai, student convener of DDS, to brief us all about the administrative structure of DDS. Over to you, Shishir.
Thank you so much, Adarsh. Good evening, everyone. Going forward with the administrative structure of the DDS. So DDS is basically divided into 3 particular layers in which we work. The first layer is the DDS Student Working Committee. So once we are finished with this orientation session, the induction forms will be released. The induction form will be released for the members of the Student Working Committee. So this is the single layer of the DDS administration, which is directly recruited from the students. Then we have a student executive committee. The student executive committee members are the members of the working committee who have worked for an year, and on the basis of the internal assessment, they have been chosen on the basis of their leadership qualities and their skills to be part of the executive members. In the student executive members, we also have a subclassification, a subcategorization for the administrative efficiency. The members who become the conveners and the co-conveners. These usually are the members of the third years, and the executive committee members are the members who are from the second years as well. Covering over it all is the DDS Faculty Executive Committee. This is the committee of our honorable teachers who actually guide us and provide us the patron, act as a patron to our events and provide us the guidance through conducting these events. Going back once more to the Student Working Committee. So how the Student Working Committee works? The Student Committee members, working committee members are the ones who take up the responsibility for the most of the events. So take up the job like what work has to be done, the poster designing to the video editing, every single kind of work. They eventually take part into those processes and get acquainted with how the society works, how those structures work, how those leadership skills, develop those leadership skills which is required to become the executive committee members. So after the end of 1 year, we have an internal assessment. That assessment is based upon the work that has been done in the past. We take recommendations from the teachers under whom the student working committee members have worked, from the executive committee members as well. And on the basis of the interviews, then on the basis of the leadership skills, they become the part of the executive committee. Executive committee, to use colloquially in a slang term, is basically policy makers of the DDS. They decide what events have to be done. They take leadership role in those events and they conduct those events. So in order to become the student executive committee member, you have to be a very diligent student working committee member. But again, to reiterate on the cost of repetition, the student working committee members are the only ones who are directly elected to the debate and discussion society. There is no direct recruitment to the executive committee. Moving forward, as our members have already spoken about several events that we conduct, we will be conducting those events from TCOP to town hall to a Abhigyan lecture series. But we have several other events in the pipeline as well. One of those events, which we have already worked upon and pretty much developed, and once you join as a working committee member, is supposed to work upon is Kartavyam. So what is Kartavyam? Kartavyam is basically a social legal platform which provides that chasm that exists between the legal community and the layman. So a person of an ordinary education without legal knowledge do not understand the intricacies of the law. So using the legal platform, using the Kartavyam, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create we are trying to fill that bridge between that person and the legal community. So once you become the part of the society, once you become the part of the working committee, you will be working directly through that platform. You can also contribute on the platform, though the platform will be eventually open to all the members. I think with this, we can wrap up our presentation for the orientation session. But we are still waiting for the sir to join the meeting. In the meanwhile, we can discuss how the induction process will take place. Shivangi, can you please let me know when sir joined the meeting?
Yeah, sure. He'll be joining like in 10 minutes more.
So in the meanwhile, what we can do, we can discuss how induction process will operate. So after this session, it will get over about 5:15 or 5:30, or by the time the speaker session and the Q&A session gets over, we will open our induction forms. Induction form is a simple form that is based to basically segregate those people who are serious about the society, who are serious about the work that has to be done, and who are serious about the skills that they have and they have worked in the past. Though there's no strict qualification that is based upon that skills that you must have, but you must have shown some aptitude in the past. You must have shown some leadership taking qualities in the past, as well as at least you have shown that you want to take up those qualities. So it will be a simple form in which there are three important questions that ultimately you have to answer why you want to become the part of the DDS. So there's a 150 word limit, which is very crucial. There's a 150 word limit that is very crucial to that, like why you want to become the part of the DDS. Again, the answer should be very crisp. The answer should be very well thought of and very well like curated, that why you actually want to become the part of the DDS. Secondly, there will be two questions that will be judging your intellectual breadth about how you think about things. So first will be there are two very interesting questions. When you will actually seeing the form, you will be looking at them, and these are the questions that again you have to answer in 150 words. I think again the most important part of the entire form, apart from these, is the CV. So from what we have seen in the past, that when the students actually take part in the induction program, they do not upload proper CV, proper profile of what they are. So when we have to judge on the basis of the text only, and it creates a lot of difficulties. We are not able to choose the people who are actually best for the job. So I advise, even if you need some help, you can just drop a text to us anytime to develop a proper CV on what work you have done in the past, or what like skills you have, and what leadership skills you have shown in the past. Even if you have done nothing, you have not that much experience into particular leadership taking qualities, or you do not might have an experience of organizational qualities, you still can develop a CV in which you can show what qualities you might have and what you can bring to DDS. Shubhangi, do you have anything into particular anything to add?
I guess we can take up the questions if anyone has any doubts regarding the induction process. Meanwhile, we can save some time, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So just to make it clear, at the end of the speaker session, we will be having a proper discussion upon induction related questions. But if anyone want to actually put this question right now, they are welcome.
Okay, dear students, if I may inform you, our key speaker is with us.
All right, ma'am.
All right, ma'am. Suryansh, can you please take over the mic now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Shishir. A very warm welcome to all present in the Debate and Discussion Society's orientation program. I hope this session proves to be insightful and learning experience for you all. To kickstart the guest speaker session, I would like to invite our teacher convener of the society, Dr. Vandana Mehlwa, ma'am, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Suryansh. A very good evening to all of you, and a very, very hearty welcome to our keynote speaker, Mr. Siddharth Batra, Advocate on Record, Supreme Court of India, members of the Debate and Discussion Society, and all my dear first-year students. There could not be a better way to start this orientation of the Debate and Discussion Society for this academic year. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Siddharth Batra, an advocate on record, Supreme Court of India, and managing partner of Satram Das and Company, has an extensive experience of nearly 20 years in litigation, and he focuses on litigation matters. He was also awarded the 2020 Best Lawyers and Legal Influencers Award by the Business World. He is a notable speaker on contemporary legal issues. Mr. Batra began his legal career in district courts and he remained additional advocate general. Presently, he handles civil and criminal matters. And before he started practicing in the Supreme Court of India, he was practicing before Punjab and Haryana High Court till the year 2014. The Debate and Discussion Society feels honored and privileged to have our keynote speaker for its orientation program and for gracing this special occasion with his presence. Thank you so much, sir, for being here today to address the students on such pertinent topic that is the art of advocacy. So if I may just tell you about a course that we have in LLB fifth term by the name Moot Court and Mock Trial. I always tell my students in this paper that advocacy is an art, and it does not start merely before. It's not merely about appearance before the court, but it's a process which starts from the time when your client contacts you with his or her problem. Our first year students present here who dream to appear before the court one day as lawyer are eagerly waiting to hear our keynote speaker, and I'm sure this address will ignite the minds assembled here. Now, with this, I would like to request our keynote speaker, Mr. Siddharth Batra, for his address. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Anna. I think you put it very appropriately about what I've done. Yeah, so I've put in about 18 years. But frankly, even after passing out the law school, I don't know where these 18 years have vanished because and you will be entering this profession as well. And I think it's going to be a great journey for you as well. And thank you, Shubhangi. Thank you, Suryansh and the Debating Society for inviting me today. It's an absolute pleasure. The moment Vanna told that to me that, in fact, you're organizing something like this, I was pretty excited because CLC has been very close to my heart because my father, in fact, passed out from CLC in 1977. Then he started practicing. So CLC will always remain close to me. I wanted to study at the CLC as well, but then I was in a 5-year course. So I thought maybe it'll be nice to say 1 year. And great to have you here. I think CLC is a very prestigious law school. It's got a great history goes back more than about 50 years, I believe, Vanna, if I'm right. And CLC has produced great lawyers, great judges, and some very senior bureaucrats as well. And I think they are spread out throughout the country. We have some former Chief Justice of India as well passing out from CLC. So I think you all should be proud of being a student at CLC, and I'm sure you guys have a great future ahead because the way things are opening up in the legal field, I'm sure you will find it very interesting, and it's going to be, and it is, if you ask me today, one of the most prominent, one of the most upcoming professions, and I will say it's better than others, and it gives you an opportunity, an overall opportunity to learn. It gives you an overall perspective of what's going in the country. You're not just abreast to the laws which are coming, not just abreast to the new judgments which are coming, but this is all then ultimately connected to what's happening in the entire country. Interesting topic today, the art of advocacy. In fact, since you guys all are members of the Debating Society, it's great that, in fact, your faculty chose this topic for you, though it's just the first year and there's another 3 years to go. But I think these 3 years will lay down your background, will lay down the experience that you're going to gain out of the law school so that you're successful as lawyers. If you have to frankly ask me about advocacy, in fact, if you ask me practically, it can be divided into basically two things. The first is client counseling, because it's the client first whom you get in touch with. And there, from where one brief starts for you, your advocacy starts once you meet a client. I know it's very easy and simple to say that. Once you finish your law course, you will be joining some office, some law firm, and over there you'll have first-hand experience of first meeting the client. So I think the first art that you'll have to learn is the art of how to convince a client. I think that's the foremost and the first step. It will come naturally because it will take time. It will come naturally, but obviously you'll have to work hard throughout. So why not to start it from today? Because these 3 years which you'll be spending at the law faculty as well are going to, I mean, soon it's going to be over. You're going to realize, oh, 3 years are over, and now you're in the real profession. So, in fact, if you ask me, first, when you deal with the clients, that's the most important. When you deal with the client will judge you in terms of the confidence that you have. The client will judge you in terms of the knowledge that you have. So my first advice is that once you're meeting a client at the first stage, do ask for the brief or what the matter is about. Once you're well read with the matter, you are really prepared about with the matter, you will be able to convince the client more easily. Obviously, the time I will take, or somebody who's put in the number of years I have put, obviously is going to take lesser time spending with the client. But if you spend more time before you meet the client, I'm sure it's going to really, really help you in that. And that is going to come with some experience. I'm sure you will be having some internships as well during your course of 3 years. Vanna, if I'm right, you have an internship, right? For every 6 months?
Yes, yes. We have a moot court and mock trial course. So that is mandatory, not in every semester.
And not the internships?
We have internships.
Okay. So, yeah, internships, if you ask me, are the most important for you to learn what happens actually in a office of an advocate or a law firm. And that's going to be the most practical experience which you will get once you get out of the law school, before you get out of the law school. So I think internships are very important. You must try to intern with the best offices around where you can go. Or maybe, if you can find out some time after your classes are over, if you can get in touch with a good advocate in whose office you can spend some time to get some practical experience, is, I think, what's going to help you the most in order to be ready to be an advocate once you pass the law school. Client counseling is one. What is the second part is how you do in the court. Right? Once you, the job of an advocate is to present the case in the court. And as Vanna said, that actually it's an art. It's an art of how you present the case, which is very, very important. Client counseling is one part. Once you're done with the client counseling and the client, in fact, decides to engage you, the second thing, you'll be working on the draft. Once the draft is ready, you will present that draft in the court. And then obviously your court skills will come in order to persuade the court about your case, which is the second limb of it, which is also very important. No one learns, even I did not learn at the initial stage. It actually takes time. And with practice, you'll keep improving. So the more you practice, the more you appear in the court, the better you will be. But before you start practicing as a lawyer, these 3 years, my advice is that what you can do is, it's great to see this debating society. I believe the more you participate in the debates, the more you are debating and the more you are attending the moot court will give you a practical experience before you ultimately pass out. So these 3 years, that's what you can do. It's a mock trial, you can say. And I think these days, moot courts have become very important. Even I have judged some of the moot courts. Over there, I find some young students doing very well. They're as good as a lawyer. So the idea is that once you pass out, you're ready to face the world, and you have some kind of an experience which ultimately will help you in good stead in becoming a good advocate. When it comes to your skills as an advocate before the court, there are a lot of things which you're going to learn with time. But obviously, the first thing is that you need to prepare your matter very well. First is that you need to prepare the matter very well. I think a good lawyer is not the one who knows what the law is, but I think a good lawyer is one who knows where the law is. Look, we can't be, even I can't be expected, or even a judge can't be expected, or you, after spending whatever years in the profession, will not be expected to know what exactly the law is, but you must know where the law is. Right? So once you actually appearing in a court, you have to be really, really onto the brief and have a bird's eye of the complete matter. And if I give, for example, an hour, you may need 2 hours, or you may need 3 hours. But if you have uh, if you rigorously prepare a matter, I'm sure you may end up doing better than me arguing the matter, because you've put on more effort and more time. So the first thing that an advocacy requires is to know the brief in and out. You must know the facts of your case first, because that's the most important. And for that, today I can tell you that at this stage you have to be a good storyteller. How do you become a good storyteller is for you to decide. Maybe when you sit with a bunch of friends, you start saying a story, you have to master that art. And maybe when you're debating, you trying to tell something, you have to perfect that art. So that will then gradually keep coming on to you. And obviously, the thing is that practice will make you more better in it. So if you ask me, in advocacy, two things are very important. One is, yes, client counseling at the first stage, and at the second stage, the preparation that you put, right, in appearing, when you appear in a matter. Sometimes, you will end up even enlightening the court. The judge may not know everything, and as I said, that you're not expected to know what the law is, but where the law is. Sometimes, you even surprise the judge with the knowledge that you have. And that's the court craft that you will learn with hard work, with spending more and more time. With time, you'll get sharper. It's not that you will develop in a day. Once you start practicing, maybe you start practicing in a moot court, and moot court also at different levels. You may be having moot courts right in your faculty, and then you may be having moot courts at some national stage and some international stage as well. So even if I say that you participate in a moot court which is in your faculty, I think that's the starting point, and even that will stand good. All of you obviously will not make it to the national stage, or all of you may not get an opportunity to represent your faculty outside. But even doing inside, if you ask me, will stand in good stead. And debating as well, same way. If you ask me, if there is a debate on some subject, it's also like preparing a case, because you put your research into it. You want to be better than the others by presenting some new facts which the viewers may not know. And how you judged in a debate is based upon the in-depth knowledge that you have. So in a way, if you ask me, I can relate the court craft that you need to show to a debate as well, because it's the same thing. When you go to argue a matter in a court as well and show your skills while arguing the matter, in fact, there's a preparation that goes in, and there is a subject that is involved, and there's a question of law which is there. Obviously, different jurisdictions, starting from the district court to the high court, and then coming to the Supreme Court, will require different kind of practice to argue the matter. A matter in the Supreme Court may not even last 60 seconds. I mean, you have to be that quick in order to make the best point so that it clicks the judge. And sometimes, you're not able to put the best point forward and your case gets dismissed. And sometimes still it happens with me that I come outside the courtroom after arguing the matter, and then I have double opinions that, look, maybe I should have argued that, would have convinced the judge. But that will come with practice and that will come with time. But what you can do at the inception is to prepare the matter in such depth so that ultimately your mind tells you that, look, this is the best point which you have to argue before the court. You may or may not succeed, but the first thing is that you have to first satisfy yourself that the hard work that you have put in preparing maybe for a debate or maybe preparing for a moot court is that, like, look, you could not have done anything better. If you ask me, law practice that way or arguing a matter before a court, maybe is like golf. You can never perfect it. There's always room. And there are always days that everybody has that sometimes it's too good in the court, and sometimes I myself feel that yes, there was something lacking. So the reasons can be how balanced you were when you were in the court, how much your mind was free when you were arguing before the court, because ultimately it's the mental thing. But with strong preparation, what happens is that when you are in the court arguing a matter, things come to your mind, because if you ask me, it's like an interview sometimes, and you feel that you're being interviewed every day, because there will be some questions which will be asked by the judge, and the judge may ask you some very tough questions, but that does not mean the judge may not agree with you later. The judge may agree, but the judge wants to be convinced himself. To convince the judge, you have to first put the right facts forward and be ready for the questions that the court is going to ask you. And that can only come with preparation. Some people say that so-and-so is a very sharp lawyer. I will say he's only sharp in the court because he's prepared it so hard that he knows it in and out. So if you ask me, there's no definition of sharpness as such. You will be sharp as well. If you've maybe, a person takes, I'll repeat myself, maybe a person takes 2 hours to prepare on a subject. If maybe you're slow, you're not getting the matter properly, maybe it's not as interesting as a subject for you as for somebody else, you put in 4 hours. If you put in those 4 hours and then come back, I'm sure you're gonna be at your best. And the other person is gonna say that, no, this person was very sharp. In the court, what happens is, once you're appearing in a court, it's not like reading a note. But obviously, if you ask me, a note is very important. A note in terms, I say it's a list of dates. As a practicing lawyer, you prepare the list of dates from where the story starts. I'll come back to what I said, that you have to be a great storyteller first. Because ultimately, first on, if the judge may not have read the file because of paucity of time, he may be busy, or he may not have read it as in depth as you would like it to be, you would firstly have to put the facts forward. So the facts start, we call it as a list of dates. The list of dates is like a full story, starting from A to Z. And you have to really work on those list of dates. For example, if you're preparing on a moot problem as well, once you get a moot problem, you get to the facts first as to what the facts are given from the date starting, the matter started, till actually it reaches the court where you have to argue the matter. If supposition you're arguing a matter before the High Court in a second appeal. So when you start first making the facts, and I'm talking about a regular civil suit, a civil suit which is normally filed. In Delhi, it's different. In Delhi, the civil suits are filed as per the pecuniary jurisdiction. If the matter is over 2 crore rupees, it goes before the High Court. If the matter is less than 2 crore rupees, the subject matter is less than 2 crore rupees, it goes before the district court. If I go to the adjoining state, that's Haryana, or maybe Punjab, or maybe Rajasthan, over there, as far as filing of suits are concerned, there's no pecuniary jurisdiction as such. All matters, whether less than 2 or more than 2, go before the district court. So when you start enumerating the facts, you start from when the suit was filed, or maybe before that, because there is a history behind the suit as well. So that list of dates which you prepare should contain each and every detail, and you don't have to read it. Look, it's not reading like a book in the court. And even if you go to a debate, you'll not be reading it, because the moment you start reading it, I think people who are watching you or listening to you will be really disinterested. They have not come to a debating society looking for somebody to read it. They are actually come to a debating society to see the skills, your oratory skills, and what do you say. Actually, they've come to hear you, not that they have come to hear what you read. But that note is very important, because ultimately, when you make that note as well, those dates actually go into your mind as well. When you're enumerating things to a judge, once you made the note properly, I'm sure you'll be much better in presenting your case. So first, I say list of dates. That's the most important when you start preparing a case. And I say the art of advocacy depends upon the note that you prepare. After preparing the list of dates, yes, what is the law on the subject may come. And that will be the second step. If you're not good on facts, if you're not even able to tell the court the correct facts, then I believe you will not be able to even justify the law which you cite. And the law comes later. The law comes much later, because every case, what in the law, what you're going to cite are judgments. Judgments are also decided on facts. How will you decide that that judgment is applicable to your case when you're not completely ready with the facts of the case? And the facts of the case, once enumerated in a list of dates, is going to help you, whether when you are arguing in the court or whether when you're drafting a matter. So when you first start drafting a matter, the first and foremost thing you do is the list of dates. On that, on the practical aspect, since you'll not be dealing with any cases as such when you're studying at the law school, so I come back to my suggestion again, that if you join some lawyer's office during your internship, or you're visiting some lawyer's office during your free time, what you need to do is, whichever brief you're assigned, first have the facts of that case before going to any proposition of law or any precedent which you think will be applicable. You need to get the facts straight first and then go ahead. And I'm telling you, once you start preparing a good list of dates, it's a habit. And if you have a good list of dates, I'm sure you will not falter, whether it's a moot court or whether you're physically appearing in a court. Second is, that is the most important. Third, what I say is that, in fact, during your college as well, the most you can get visiting the courts. It's all ultimately practical. Tomorrow, when you'll pass out, you'll have two options. Maybe you would end up working with a law firm where you don't have to appear in the court, or you may join a litigating office like the one I have. So that's an option that you'll have to make. Obviously, if you don't then join litigation, as far as your skills of advocacy are concerned, they will be restricted to client counseling. They will be restricting to briefing a senior. They will be restricted to briefing a arguing counsel like me. And there are some people who are even great in briefing as well. Great seniors require great briefing as well. And if the younger lawyer is briefing properly, even the senior likes it. And the senior is going to appreciate if you're going to brief well. Obviously, if you then decide post your law school to be in litigation, then you're going to end up in the court. You're going to end up practicing initially maybe at the district court or maybe at the high court level. I say yes, the experience at the district court level is very, very important. But I think these 36 months that you have now in your law course, I'll advise all of you to have practical experience of the courts as well. If you ask me initially, in our courts, it's a challenge even to park your car, or to park, or to find the right parking which is there. You need to be first accustomed, abreast about how the courts function, where the courts are, which courts are where. So that experience you will need. And the more you observe, the more you're going to learn. And the great thing about today is that, in fact, we have a great Chief Justice, my Lord Justice Chandrachud. Uh, I say before he being a judge, is a great human being. And now we have WebEx as far as Supreme Court is concerned. All the courts are working on WebEx as well. I'm sure if you're working with a good law office, you can have access to what is exactly happening in the courts. Even not going physically and observing them online is going to be of good stead for you. And I think is going to really help you. Because once you see a lawyer arguing a matter, or a senior advocate arguing a matter, it ultimately, when you observe that, it inculcates some of the way they are arguing. That art you start loving, you start actually getting once you're observing them. So that is very important as well. And if you ask me, it's like you can compare it to the job of a pilot as well. When we take flights, there are pilots who are flying us. Though they don't become pilots just by spending some time. They only become pilots if when they have spent hundreds of hours flying, right? Trying to learn, trying to imitate. Same is the case with us. When you take a flight as a lawyer, you expected to have those hundreds hours of that watching as to how the matters are progressing, what are the etiquettes in the court, how the matter is being argued. That is what you're going to learn when you start observing the court. So my suggestion is that whether it's physical, whether it's virtual, make the most of it. Attend as much as courts you can. Look at the court craft which lawyers, the way they are arguing the matter. And I say one thing with a great sense of responsibility, that a lawyer's job is to argue the matter, number one. Number two, you may lose a case, but never lose the judge. That means never annoy the judge, because ultimately it's not the judge personally, it's the court where you appear. The respect that you have for a judge is because he's a judge of that court, and it's the majesty of that court that you ultimately bow down. So the skills are important. Your tenacity to argue a matter is important. At the same time, you have to be most respectful towards the court. And the loudest, if you ask me, the loudest lawyers are not the best, if you ask me. If you put your brief straight, if you put your brief correctly, and if you put your brief in a few words, the judges do appreciate that. The judges do appreciate the etiquettes that you have in the court. You may not win a case, but you may win a judge. And when you appear before that judge the second time, the judge may notice, the judge may like your etiquettes which you showed in the last matter. And if you have a matter which is very close to, I say 1920, the judge you may find favor, because ultimately it's the way you present as well does matter in the court. So I will say yes, you have to be utmost respectful. That's the first thing when you go into a court, you must know. And it is not just that you argue a lot. If you have a matter wherein you are making lengthy arguments, only help. No, at times what helps is that you're on to the point. Once you're on to the point, you speak with passion, you speak with the greatest conviction, because you need to be sure about the point of what you're arguing. A case may have 4 points. The best has to be put forward first. And you have to give your whole impetus to the first point till the time the court finally gives an observation that, look, that doesn't have merit. You have to first substantiate the best point possible. I'll tell you one of my practical experiences. I was fortunate enough to practice as an assistant advocate general before Punjab and Haryana High Court. And I'm talking about 2006 or 7. I was appearing in a land acquisition matter, and I was barely, 2 or 3 years in profession. And who was appearing against me in that land acquisition matters were two prominent seniors of that court. And in that matter, the question was with regard to the compensation that the landowners have to get for the acquisition of land. The state was in appeal as well because the court below had granted excessive compensation. The landowners were in appeal as well, saying that we should get more compensation. The state was saying no, there should be lesser compensation. Since there was state appeal, I stood up. I stood up and told the court that there's a state appeal as well. So I would like to argue first. I was quite excited. I read the brief in detail. I'd myself gone and inspected the brief. And the judge, yes, initially showed some kind of discomfort that, look, there are two seniors, you telling to argue first. But then still, I remember that lady judge gave me a chance. And I argued the matter. I argued the matter at length. When I finished the matter and I came out, the other senior who was against me walked up to me and said that you argued very well. But then he said, look, if you would have just stuck to your first point, I think you would have made a great impact and the case would have been over on that. I saw that and I thought, oh, he's saying the right thing, because I was quickly moving on from one point to the other. I stressed all the points, but yes, my main point which I have, which was the star point, wherein High Court would have interfered in the favor of the state, I laid thrust on that, but not as much as could have, and I could have closed my case. Then I ended up discussing with my father. In fact, he also practiced law for 30 years. He doesn't practice now. So I told him the entire same thing. And he said, like, look, maybe a senior could have done what he's suggesting you, but for your age, what you did is the correct thing. So there'll always be a debate on what you have to argue, what you have to lay stress on, right? And this will all depend upon the court which you're appearing. And ultimately, with the effort that you put in preparing the matter will ultimately make you decide as to how much of stress and which point should be argued first. Because sometimes, your points, some of the best points may not find favor, and some of the points which you may not think that actually are that credible may find favor. It's ultimately, the court will apply its mind as well. And the court has some application as well. And the judges may have more experience than you. Ultimately, it all comes back to how you prepare the matter. So my first thrust for you to become a great lawyer, a good lawyer, is to prepare the brief in and out threadbare. Threadbare means threadbare. You can't miss a point. You can't miss a point factually. You can allow yourself to go wrong on the law in terms of the law that you're citing. But as far as the facts are concerned, you can't go wrong, because the moment you go wrong on facts, your entire ship starts drowning, the entire case starts drowning, because if you don't know the facts, you're going to get the judgments wrong, and the judge will not at all be convinced, because the judge will think that you've not prepared the matter properly. So therefore, the thing is that you have to cite the record correctly. I hope I'm not sounding too serious at this stage. College is next 3 years. I would love you to enjoy your college as well, enjoy the college canteen as well, and enjoy life, because after 3 years, it's going to be a changed life. You're going to enter a very serious profession. I'm sure with your hard work, if you start moving at the right pace, you start participating in the debates, in the moot court options or opportunities that you get. My first is that make the most out of it, so that you can gain as much as practical experience before you enter this serious profession. And it's a gradual process. It's much better than it was before. I think when I joined in 2004, it wasn't as bright as it is today. And I think you guys are lucky because you're entering the best profession, if you ask me, in the country. And it's growing, and it'll go at a very fast pace. Initially, you'll have to be patient. Be patient with yourself. And once you put the right kind of effort, you put the right kind of hard work, you will see that fruits of the profession will ultimately start coming to you. And once you learn the art of it, there will be people finding you. You don't need to find the clients, but obviously you got to learn the art, and it's going to take some time, but it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a great learning journey for you. And you will ultimately really enjoy this profession more than others, is what I think. I think on that, I'll stop on this, and maybe we can get on with the interactive session, because for me also, I can just see a few webcams online. I can see Vanna, and I can see the other girl, Shubhangi, right? I can see you, but I can't see others. So now I can see Suryansh as well. So I think with your permission, we can start with the interactive session. And I would love to discuss with you, have your questions, and take this conversation forward.
Over to you, Shishir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for such a brilliant session. Very good evening to you. I'm Shishir Kumar Rai, the student convener of Debate and Discussion Society. With your due permission, sir, we have several questions from the meet itself and on the YouTube live platform as well. We would like to start with the question answer session.
Perfect. With pleasure. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think you have stressed upon this about the preparation. But Gaurangi from second year asked how one can deal with the performance anxiety that might deal during the argument making in the courts.
That's a great question. If you ask me, I still have anxiety. If the matter is important, the stakes are high, you have a very important client, right? I think you'll have to deal with it. Mentally, you'll have to make yourself strong. And gradually, once you start appearing more, it's the practice that makes you perfect. So it can't come in a day. But I'm sure if you prepared well, then that anxiety is going to be lowered down. The moment the matter starts, you enter a different zone, because ultimately then you start interacting with the judge. You start convincing the judge. So it all depends on your preparation first to lower the anxiety level. And if you're very well prepared, then initial few lines, you will realize that the anxiety is gone and you're on to it. So maybe I say it's like a cricket match. When you go onto the pitch, you practiced well, and you play a few balls, and then you start hitting fours and sixes, because you start seeing the ball more clearly. So it's the same in our profession as well. With anxiety, I mean, you'll have to deal with it, but once you're very well prepared, obviously you're going to feel it less.
Thank you, sir. Moving ahead with the second question, this is from Uttam Kumar Gupta, again a second year student from Campus Law Center. He asked, what advice do you have for a budding lawyer who do not come from a legal background to carve out a career for themselves in litigation? So there might be, I think he wants to ask, there might be difficulties from a person who is a first generation lawyer, as well as a person who is not coming directly from the core areas of the litigation. So,
firstly, I thought it's an orientation program for the freshers, but you have students from the second year as well.
Yes, sir. Okay. The orientation program was open for everyone, but it is mostly oriented towards the first years.
Perfect. So yeah, another good question. Look, forget it, legal background or not. If you ask me, more than 70 to 80% of the lawyers in Delhi, I can talk about Delhi is where I practice, are first generation, right? And now, actually, there's so much of work because legal is virtually entering into every businesses. Every business house needs legal consultants. They need legal retainers. And with our economy growing, there's so much coming and there's so much to do that ultimately we need a lot of lawyers, right? Those days are gone that actually you can proceed ahead. Even in a simple agreement to sell relating to a property, the client wants to show it to the lawyer, right? So forget it that is first generation. Ultimately, I'm repeating myself again and again, it's the hard work that you put in, because if you work hard and you join an office and in that office you perform well, then that senior where you join will be dependent upon you and ultimately would never want you to leave, because uh, if you ask me, there's still a scarcity of good lawyers, good hardworking lawyers. If you can be a good hardworking lawyer, I'm sure you don't need to think about any first generation or second generation. You are bound to succeed.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the next question is from first year now. He asks, moot court play a vital role in enhancing the arguing skills. Often students fall short in delivery of their content. How do you think one can overcome this and improve their persuasion skills, especially with regards to the moot courts and the court of the law?
Moot courts, I think, are very interesting, are the way forward for all of you. Participate in it as much as possible. But all the persuasion powers, everything is dependent upon number one, your preparation, and number one, the more you do it, right? You can even have small moot courting groups in your law college as well. I'm sure your professor will be up to an idea, but obviously that motivation has to come from you within. So I believe the more you practice, that is going to come, and it's going to come naturally. Don't worry about it, but you have to put the best efforts forward first, prepare yourself well, and then wait for that.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Siddhartha, again a first year. She asked, at times, advocates need to negotiate solutions and agreements with the opponents as they go on with the cases. What is your guide for a successful negotiation? So I think that question deals with how do you actually deal with the case outside of the court. So when we are dealing with the opposition directly in order to negotiate a proper solution. Over to you, sir.
It's like any other negotiation is another skill. If you ask me, it's that way out of advocacy, because ultimately you're negotiating with a for a client out of court, right? These are negotiating skills which maybe a MBA may have as well, right? So on that, again, I say with experience, with the more number of cases that you do, and negotiation per se is dependent how flexible your client is, what are the limitations of your client, how far your client is going to go to negotiate. Before negotiating, you must apprise your client and yourself that where the case stands. If ultimately someone has a very strong case and it is put for negotiation, obviously you will be very extremely what do I say, confident in negotiating, and you would like the best deal to come forward, because ultimately you know at the back of your mind that you have a very strong case. So firstly you have to tell yourself where the case stands and then take it forward.
And thank you so much, sir. I think this is second last question.
Please go ahead.
I think, sir, this is second last question for the
Yeah,
day.
please go ahead.
Aman asked, being an advocate often involves thinking on your feet. So could you share your tips to be better prepared to speak off the cuff? Sir, I think you might have partly answered this about preparation by preparing threadbare and to be ready with the case. But can you also give some guidance on what we can do apart from the courts, apart from maybe in the courts of the law, the moot courts, that prepare us to be a better storytellers, to be a better prepared to answer a particular argument in the moment itself?
Yeah, obviously, I said that what is important for you is to visit court virtually, physically. From there, you can learn it. And the other modes can be even if you're sitting with friends. It's just that you are telling a story. You can be better in it. Just you should repeat the question again. What exactly you said?
So the question exactly is, being an advocate often involves thinking on your feet. Could you share your tips to be better prepared to speak on off the cuff?
There's nothing like off the cuff, if you ask me. If you're not prepared, obviously you're going to falter. It's not that somebody asks you a question on some law. There are hundreds of legislation that we have. There are thousands of judgments that we have. So ultimately, there's nothing like off the cuff. Obviously, there can be some debating skills on some subject which you have read, which you can off the cuff start. I mean, debating about it, and then things come with experience. So if you ask me, there's nothing off the cuff. You have to be really prepared in this profession, and you have to really take out time for that.
Sir, I think this is the last question. We'll just check through. This might be second last question again. It's from Sanskruti, and she asked, one of the most complex things an advocate does is cross-examination. Do you think that cross-examination is an art that can be perfected through practice? And what are suggestions for the beginning lawyers, for the freshers that enter the field of the law?
She's answered the question herself. Yes, it comes with practice. Obviously, then again, cross examination is an art, and cross examination is more important when it comes to criminal cases, because the whole defense is dependent upon the way prosecution witnesses are cross examined by the defense lawyer, and ultimately what comes out of that. And for cross examination also, again, you have to be really prepared with the brief. You have to be really prepared with the facts of the case, and then only you can cross examine somebody properly. I saw another question from Veera Chauhan, I believe.
Yes, there is one more question. The question is about, it is generally perceived that the legal profession is a very hard field for a girl to get into, or for a woman to get into. So can you please share if your insights on that, on basis of your experience?
Look, the in the women's team has just the under 19, I believe, women team has won the cricket World Cup. So it's a equal world. Women are no less. Do not think at all about it. I think you are studying in a great city that way, and uh, if you even now you go to High Court or Supreme Court, there's so many judges. Uh, Women judges that we have who are being elevated, and at the district level as well, and they're doing so well. Some of the judges are very good. We'll have soon a chief justice as well, Justice Nagartha. She's going to be the chief justice of India in say about 4 or 5 years. So sky is the limit, and I think it's a quite a equal world, if you ask me, when it comes to practicing in Delhi, whether at the district level, at the High Court, or the Supreme Court. I know it's a tough profession, anyways, and maybe a little more tougher for women, but I think Delhi affords you a lot of opportunity and provides an atmosphere where I think girls can prosper. And we have some very good senior lawyers who are women. We have some very good corporate lawyers. We have some women who are leading some amazing law firms as well. So all in our profession, women are doing very well. We have Vandana with us. I mean, she has had her experience as well, though she has taken the other academic side. She started from ILI, and now she is with CLC. So it's, if you ask me, at such a young age, and she's a Fulbright Nehru scholar as well. So it's this age for her to achieve this is a great accomplishment as well. And I think you can take heart from seeing your professors, and I think we are pretty much moving forward as far as the equal the atmosphere where you have equal opportunity is concerned, and Delhi is the place to practice for you.
So one one participant directly wants to pose the question to you.
Why not? I
If,
would like
we have
more
your-
direct questions, and we can have 5 minutes more.
Sure.
No problem.
Shashank, please.
Hi, Shashank.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Shashank. Actually, I'm pursuing law from CLC first year. Sir, really nice session from you, and it was a good one. On a lighter note, I just want to ask you कि जब पहली बार आप obviously you went there pleading in the court, what was your first response or any did you follow kind of a ritual या anything like that? And first years को आप क्या guide देना चाहते हैं आगे के लिए कि how should we kind of look forward to it? किस तरह से हम आगे करें?
Look, obviously, yeah, first time is the most important, but I think जितना आप practically court में जाएंगे, आप उतना court से accustomed हो जाएंगे. Right? You will feel the court more, and the first time is going to be over soon, and you'll have hundreds of opportunities. So the more opportunity you get, the more better you're going to feel, the more confident you're going to feel. Shashank, so ultimately, it's the practice that'll make you perfect. And even if you falter in the first case, you falter in the third, you falter in the fifth, doesn't matter. I mean, we as lawyers regularly win and lose cases. But ultimately, you have to answer yourself that before going in the matter, did you do the hard work? Have you prepared the case properly? Did you give it enough time to justify it to yourself and then to the client? There are sometimes, when you lose a case, but you don't lose the client. That client, you come out and the client says that very well, you tried your best. Sometimes it's luck of the client as well, and sometimes somebody has a more brighter, more stronger case. So it's all there. So eventually, when you start appearing case by case, I think it's going to make much more easier for anybody starting afresh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, sir. If anybody else have question, they can pose it. Otherwise, we will wrap up the question answer session now. I think, with your permission, sir, we will close the question answer
I hope
session.
everybody is not sleeping because
Yeah.
I do know, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Shashi, there is one more question by Suryansh. Have you read it out?
Just a second. Yes, sir, Suryansh poses a question. How does the practice in a higher court is different from the lower judicial?
Okay, yes, higher courts can be more formal. If you are practicing in the district court, maybe it's less formal than the high court. There is a difference in jurisdiction. You talk about the original jurisdiction, you talk about the appellate jurisdiction. In Supreme Court is completely different. It's a special leave petition under Article 136 of the Constitution, which I would like you guys to go home and read that Article 136 of the Constitution provides for a special leave petition. It's not an appeal. So firstly, you ask for leave of the court, and you may have a good case on merits, but this court may not still grant you leave. The court may still think, okay, this is not a case where leave has to be granted. So yes, different courts have different jurisdictions and different levels as well. I believe possibly you start from the district level because it's you will get more opportunity. It'll be less informal. It'll be less formal, sorry, and provide you more time to argue the matter, because in high courts and Supreme Courts, you have to really immediately get on to the point. So yes, there's a difference, and sometimes you're appearing in the Supreme Court and you only get about 60 or 120 seconds to make out your case, and maybe the judge agrees, the judge does not agree. So yeah, it depends. It is also that the time you get to argue a matter when you're appearing in different courts.
Thank you so much, sir. I think due to paucity of time, we will wrap up the matter. Thank you so much, sir, for so graciously taking out the time and answering these questions. In fact, not only for first years, in fact for us third years as well, this session will prove very helpful. So I would now like to hand over the mic to Shubhangi. She is a student convener of Debate and Discussion Society to give a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Shishir. Thank you so much, sir. As yes, indeed, Shishir said very rightly that this session was though meant for the freshers, but we final year and second year students also find it very insightful. Um, I would like to thank you for such articulated and insightful answers, and thank you so much for taking your precious time from your busy schedule. I would also like to thank our patron in chief Alka Chawla ma'am and our teacher conveners Vanna ma'am and Seema Singh ma'am for guiding us and supporting us throughout this session and throughout the other events. And I would, in the end, I would like to thank the team DDS for putting up with this event. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think if anybody has question regarding the induction process, they can put forward now. Yes, sir. After filling a Google form, क्या होगा? Basically, we will देखेंगे which are serious candidates, and then we will call for interviews. Basically, 11th तक form खुला है. Most probably, you will get an interview call by 13th or 14th. Then you will be called for interview, and on the basis of that interview, you will be selected to the working committee. Arpit, yes.
Am I audible?
Hello. Arpit. Yes, Arpit.
So, sir, I just want to ask, like, what is the process to induct? Actually, I joined late. I missed
I
that.
think your audio is a bit is resonating. It is not very audible.
आप text drop कर दीजिए.
Hello, am I audible now?
You are on.
So actually, I joined late, so I missed the part where you told us like what will be the process of induction. So can you please
Induction
repeat?
after this orientation session, we will release the Google form. That Google form will have a basic question. This is a basic questionnaire in which you have to fill out all the details, and you have to fill out the questions that are asked at the end. And more importantly, you have to give a good CV at the very end again. And on that basis, we will select a group of people who will be called for interviews. And on the basis of that interview, we will be finally inducting the working committee members. So the deadline would be like this. The orientation form, that induction form will be open till 11th. Most probably, and afterwards till 14th, I think we can call you for interviews, and afterwards induction process will take place. So this is not a very strict deadline. This will be something that we'll be adhering to, and it will be dependent upon number of participants that eventually are in the process. You have any other questions?
Ritik has a question. Can other centers students be also part of this team? Ritik, no, this is only a CLC platform. So no other centers can be part of this team.
So like this is solely for CLC students. I think other centers has their own debate and discussion societies. You might take part in those. Anybody else have any questions with regard to induction process?
We also have a question from Ashwin, I think. That we left.
What is the process to join society?
Process, I will just explain it simply. आज हम इसके बाद इवेंट के बाद हम फॉर्म ओपन कर देंगे. फॉर्म सिंपल सा फॉर्म है, क्वेश्चनर है, 2-3 क्वेश्चंस जो इंपॉर्टेंट है, अदरवाइज सिंपल डिटेल्स देनी है. आप हु आर यू, कहाँ से हो, आपकी स्किल्स क्या है. साथ में आप एक सीवी अपलोड करोगे. सीवी में कि आपने पास में क्या किया है, व्हाट योर एजुकेशन बैकग्राउंड, सिंपल सा सीवी. एंड उस बेसिस पे हम कुछ लोगों को इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाएंगे. कितने लोगों को इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाएंगे डिपेंड करेगा कि क्वालिटी कैसी है. तो देयर इज नो लिमिटेशन कि कितने लोग को बुलाया जाएगा. दैट क्वेश्चनर से सिर्फ हम ये देखना चाह रहे हैं हु आर सीरियस. So if there's 70%, maybe 80% people might be serious, तो हम उनको इंटरव्यू कॉल करेंगे. उस इंटरव्यू के बेसिस पर फाइनली we'll be taking up candidates for the working committee. Second important thing, जो क्वेश्चंस हर साल आते हैं लास्ट में, there is no bar to language. आप हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल हो, इन केस आप हिंदी में बोलना चाह रहे हो, हिंदी में इंटरव्यू देना चाह रहे हो, आप हिंदी में सीवी भी देना चाह रहे हो, आंसर्स भी देना चाह रहे हो, we will take up that. हम ले लेंगे, हमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है उससे. You just have to write crispness होनी चाहिए और to the point आंसर्स होनी चाहिए. So 150 words अगर लिमिट है तो 150 words से अडहेयर करो, 150 वर्ड क्रॉस नहीं करना है. That will be it. इसके अलावा कुछ नहीं. बस क्वेश्चनर को इतना रखना है कि हाँ, when you are filling it, just fill it to the point. You have 150 words, write 150 words. 150 words को cross मत करो. Because it doesn't make sense. If we are asking a question, we just want 150 words. So हम obviously 150 words में ही test करेंगे. जी. Any other questions?
Just to add, for any other query, you can contact us. जो भी हमारे details है किसी भी पेज में या email कर सकते हो आप.
हाँ, आप WhatsApp group अगर join किया हो तो WhatsApp group में you can just किसी भी admin को just text drop कर देना. Anyone बस will answer, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. आप कभी you can just mail भी drop कर सकते हो, किसी भी social media platform पे भी डाल सकते हो. That's no issue.
I guess
Okay, sir.
Sharad.
Thank you.
हाँ, sorry.
हाँ, end the live stream.